Today on the edX Live podcast, we are joined by a true pioneer in the field of global education and student mentorship, Niharika Sondhi, founder and director of EdNet Consultants. With over 2 decades of experience guiding students towards top universities around the world, Niharika has built EdNet into one of India's most trusted education consultancies. Her passion lies not just in admissions, but in unlocking each student's unique potential through a personalized and a student-first approach. She has helped thousands craft powerful profiles and gain admission to leading institutions across the US, UK, Canada, and beyond. From launching the EdNet School of Art and Design to mentoring students in building authentic portfolios and exploring creative disciplines, Niharika has consistently championed holistic, purpose-driven education. Niharika, welcome to the edX Live podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Now, before we dive into the main chunk of our conversation, could you give us a bit of a background about yourself?
The thing is that I did my undergraduate in India. I did it from Delhi University, GMC, but simultaneously I was also in the United States, where I was exploring every field of design. So I lived in the US for about 18 years, and then after which I came to India in 1993, 1994. I joined IILM, Institute of Integrated Learning and Management in Delhi. That was my first experience in the field of academics, where I helped the university now to set up their business schools, their engineering, their design schools. And I was also very much involved in student exchange, faculty exchange programs, curricular development, AICT approvals, UGC approvals. So basically, my academic career started with IILM. Before that, in the United States, I was definitely just working in the area of finance and accounting in the top real estate company. So coming back to India, after having worked with IILM for almost 8 to 10 years, in 2002, I started EdNet Consultants with the purpose to help students get the best advice and best directions without any biases, because I just felt that they needed a lot of guidance, and especially there were a lot of organizations out there, and what was required was total transparency. I started EdNet in 2002, and at the same time, I also pursued my master's in 2000 with University of Bradford in the field of marketing. That was the beginning of my journey. And in 2004, I realized that a lot of our students were not getting admissions in top design schools globally. So I went for training. I went for my deeper understanding in LaSalle in Singapore, as well as Parsons in New York, where I got a good learning as to what were they looking at, which we in India were not able to provide that level of work. And that's when I started EdNet School of Art and Design. Then in 2008 or 9, I realized that the students need to have a good coaching or learning of the admissions requirements such as SAT, GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, etc. And that's when I started the test prep school, making sure that my teachers were very well learned, knowledgeable, trained with experience to be able to teach the curriculum. I realized that the students from the CBSE curriculum were not exposed to research, and I thought maybe having or offering them research opportunities would be a good way for them to realize what their interest is, as well as get a deeper understanding how to write research papers and projects. That's the time when I started getting associated with the US professors and gradually with other professors and organizations worldwide, including eminent professors from India, Delhi University, and many more. So we had our students going to research, understanding their interests, and going into publications. In fact, some even presented their papers in conferences, which was huge. Then in 2023, I realized that due to depreciation of the Indian rupees and the cost of tuitions rising all across the world, I worked with Market University, which is ranked, I think, top 70, 80 in the United States, as well as is established, I think, in 1873 to offer US college credits to our high school students as well as the first year college going students to give them the competitive edge in their application and also to understand how the education or was delivered overseas. So not only were the students able to go through the entire process or pedagogy of the US universities, it was no more that I got my back against the wall because I'm not taking math in my high school and I want to do business, or I want to go into nutrition but I don't have sciences. They could now take these credit courses while studying in high school to make that transition into the areas or degrees or majors they were now finding interest in. So that's what happened. And the courses are taught by the adjunct faculty of the university. It's a virtual classroom. It's the same pedagogy used as they do it in the United States. The transcripts comes in from there. Exams are proctored. There's a lot of quality control measures that are taken. So yes, that is what happened in 2023. We will help you in any way possible so that you can live your dreams without having to sacrifice or your family to sacrifice their security. Until today, we ensure that every student who works with us is given equal scholarship opportunities or support from the banks, whatever we can do in our personal capacity, so that the students can avail of the best education, the best situation and location. At the end of the day, there is no surety and there is no guarantee about anything. And this is something that has to be very transparently spoken to the parents and not shown them a hunky dory picture and later on get that rude awakening. And since then, that has been our vision. We ensure that they get into the best, advise them on scholarships, and make sure that they're able to meet both their financial requirements as well as their personal and professional dreams.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, education is a deeply personal journey. You've often said that every student can learn just not on the same day or in the same way. Now, how does that belief shape your approach to student mentorship and academic planning?
So that quote forms the bedrock of everything we do here at EdNet. For us, each student is a unique blend of abilities, interest, goals, and learning styles. That's why we begin every journey with an in depth one to one session to understand not just the academic performance, but also their personality, their passion, their long term ambitions. So we use a combination of aptitude assessments, written as well as psychometric tools, and informal conversations, dialogues to map out the best suited academic and career pathways. So, what sets us apart, I would say, is our multi pronged ecosystem. A student who is passionate about art, for instance, can benefit from our EdNet School of Art and Design, where they explore techniques, build portfolios, get mentorship from renowned and practicing artists. And those who want to go really into deep academic rigor, they can join our ERIL, that is EdNet Research Initiative for Advanced Learning, to work on research projects under professors from leading global institutions. Meanwhile, students preparing for international admissions can take advantage of our test prep school and get customized coaching in SAT, ACT, GMAT, GRE, IELTS, and TOEFL. Moreover, with our dual enrollment partnership with Market University, students can now earn US college credits right here in India, which is a perfect solution for those who want to challenge themselves early or stand out in a competitive application pool. So, also depending upon what students would like to study, we offer various activities by renowned organizations and courses that would help them decide where their interest truly lies. Ultimately, we believe that no two journeys should look the same.
So, holistic development is a very important part of today's world. It's not just about the grades and the test scores and academic rankings, because everyone's journey can look different and feel different and need different things. So, what role does basic holistic development play in helping them grow into well rounded individuals who can truly contribute and thrive in today's world?
So at EdNet, we believe that marks may open doors, but it's the mindset, the meaning, and the motivation within that student that shape who a student can become once we walk through with them. To us, holistic development is just not a buzzword, it's the foundation of future readiness. It means developing students who are just not intelligent, but introspective, who are just not driven, but they need to be compassionate, collaborative, or just courageous to take challenges. These qualities don't come in from a textbook alone. They're cultivated through their own lived experiences. And that's exactly what we create for our students. We involve them in volunteer projects, we give them opportunities in summer programs or internships, global forums, competitions, research works that stretch their entire worldview. So, from shadowing and having constructive dialogues with professionals in industries that they are curious about, to taking university level online courses on maybe ethics, leadership, or just global citizenship. We help them to explore who they are beyond the syllabus. So, along the way, they learn to become problem solvers, they work in teams, they learn how to communicate clearly and effectively, and they reflect deeply, not because we told them to do so, but because the experience that they've had has been called for it. So, grounded yet global, creative yet analytical, curious at the same time ethical is how we turn our learners into leaders and students into citizens which are ready to thrive in a fast changing world as well as contribute meaningfully to it.
So, in your experience, it's very common to meet students and parents from very diverse backgrounds and global contexts. Now, how do you balance parental expectations with student aspirations together in the ever evolving demands of higher education in today's world?
In 2002, the way the parents approach the entire higher education learning for their children is so much more different than what it is right now. There are times, of course, we have many, many different sets of parents and students. So there are times when we have students who are coming in and wanting to study a particular course or a program, and maybe something like design, and the parents are doctors or engineers and they have really no understanding of design, and they don't know whether this is the right way or the right choices that the kids are making. In that kind of a situation, it's very important for us to give that confidence and clarity to the parents that what the child has chosen could maybe be the best interest, and they might just have a natural aptitude for it, looking at different areas which they find is more up their sleeves vis-a-vis what they see with the parents. So yeah, at that time it is our responsibility to see how we can bridge that gap from parents expectations to what the child really wants to do, and that's where we come into play. There are times when the parents do understand and they have that belief in their child that they know what they want to do and are very, very supportive of their dreams. But there are also times when there are parents who don't look at any other way, but sometimes inflict their own dreams into the children's future and are quite adamant about it. But those are the times we really cannot do much except try to make them see reason. But now I think times have changed. I think the parents are much more flexible than what they were when I started in 2002.
Today, as global university admissions become more and more competitive and nuanced, how do you ensure counseling strategies stay responsive to evolving criteria and values in international education?
I believe that the only thing constant in education is change, and we built a model to evolve with it. With having more than 23 years of expertise and close ties with international education bodies like International ACAC or NACAC and FICI-FLOW, we stay deeply engaged with the latest admission trends, the curriculum shifts, the university expectations worldwide. We are also well tuned to what is happening politically across the world, which is equally important. So, my extensive visits to more than 400 universities globally allows me to offer students insight into the top institutions, what they're truly looking for, which is beyond what is simply visible on the website. So, my research is very, very detailed. We also conduct regular internal reviews of global admission criteria, tracking changes in application formats, new interdisciplinary courses, emerging areas and fields, and now the role of AI in essays, profiles, co curricular activities. This ensures us that our guidance is just not stagnant, but it is proactive, it is measured, and it is very much aligned with the current demands. Another key differentiator is our multidisciplinary support ecosystem, whether it's helping our students align their personal story with the academic interest or guiding them through the unique essay formats like Oxbridge or the latest UCAS framework. Our experts led in house teams across counseling, test prep, creative development ensures that no area is left out. We do not rely on any template. Every student's plan is custom built, which factors their aspirations, their learning style, their strengths, their weaknesses, and their academic profile. So, from STEM to design, we align their strengths with international expectations, helping them literally to stand out in this competitive application process.
So now EdNet School of Art and Design offers specialized programs in various artistic disciplines. So how do you identify and cultivate the unique artistic potential in students?
At EdNet School of Art and Design, we are of the view that every student's creative voice is distinct and it needs to be discovered and not dictated. So, our process begins first with listening. Before we introduce the students to mediums or methods and techniques, we take first time to understand their natural inclinations, what excites them, what kind of themes they return to, and how do they express themselves best. So, whether a student is doodling or he's curating visual references, we see these not as a habit but as indicators of creative directions. I'll give you a little example. There was this student who came in, and again, his parents both were doctors. I was just watching him, and while I was talking to him and having this engagement, he took my stapler pins and he was actually making small little constructions from it. I always observe that how do they respond to the questions, which helps us understand how they think and how they process. And most importantly, what sets us apart is our exploratory foundation program. This allows the students to experiment with a wide range of materials, techniques, disciplines, right from fine arts to sculpture to fashion to digital design, interiors, graphic, and even architecture. And I think through this immersive process, we just don't develop skills. We help the students understand where their passion truly lies and guide them towards their calling. But there are times when students come with one mindset, and through this journey, they pivot to an entirely different specialization, which is understandable. There are a lot of students, and especially the girls, who come in and they say, everyone wants to be a fashion designer. Why? Because they love shopping, they love clothes. And I explain to them that just because you love Shopping doesn't make you a fashion designer. So just let's explore. I start with basic fine arts, drawing, observation techniques, and then I start moving them to seeing where their interest is. Is it really fashion, or they're finding it too taxing, or they're moving towards the areas of digital where they enjoying studying Adobe or Illustrator, Blender, or they're looking at areas like interior design. So I believe that the peer group at EdNet School of Art and Design also play a huge role. So one thing, they walked in saying that they want to be a fashion designer, they can end up not doing fashion, or they can even end up being in areas which is related to the field of art and design, but not becoming a designer, like going into fashion marketing, merchandising, fashion management, or just fashion entrepreneurship. Or, so, or sometimes they can just go undecided because they're so confused and they still need some more time to make that important decision. They have that foundation of art and creativity, but they still need some more time to, speak out their major or specialization. So it goes beyond the visuals. It emphasizes on storytelling, and it helps the student to articulate their entire creative voice and journey, which is highly valued by top design institutions, because what they want to see in the portfolio is the voice of the student, something which is connected with them, which is meaningful to them.
So, given the importance of portfolios in art and design admissions, what have you seen as common mistakes that students make while preparing their art and design portfolio?
The most common mistakes which I find is that they like to copy. They think that by copying, they are going to become designers and artists, which is not true. I believe it's a very strategic and a very personalized processes which has to balance creativity with their clarity or vision. The first thing I do with them is to help them reflect, to question, and think about what they want to craft in their work that speaks about their own individuality and aligns with the expectations of the global design institutions. So it's not what looks nice on the portfolio, but how well you're able to depict it and narrate it from your own point of view. I start with research, development of ideas, of course, concepts, showing the processes, which includes the technical skills. So, coming back to your question, they feel that how best they can copy is making them a good designer, while I tell them that it can be as quirky as possible. But if you're able to express what you are trying to say in that piece or work, then that becomes your original work. So that's the mindset which I try to make them develop in our art school. And I can just tell you one thing, that over the past 2 decades, my kids are scaling in the top global art schools, where there could be RISD, CalArts, Parsons, University of Arts, Royal College of the Art, Polytechnico, and they're doing extremely well because their foundation has been laid at EdNet. When we are coaching our students in presenting their works with clarity through annotations or process journals or just a video walkthrough, because we realize how well you can articulate a portfolio can be just as important at what is being developed in it.
Absolutely. And I know that you hold a lot of webinars where you discuss the decision making process between pursuing a master's degree and an MBA. And you have one upcoming on the 30th of June at 7 p.m. So tell me, what are the key factors that students should consider when making this choice?
So I personally believe, coming to this, students need to have that clarity, clarity about their long-term career goals. And we need to understand what is their current level of professional experiences and what are the kind of skills that they would like to build. So when you look at a master's degree, it's typically more academic, it's more specialized. Some of them are also very research oriented. So it's ideal for students who are earlier in their careers and who want to deepen their expertise in a specific domain, such as someone who's coming in from economics wants to now go into finance, or data science, or even moving to a field like design, or they just want to learn from another discipline which can be complementary to what they have studied. So, a master's degree allows them to build a strong technical foundation, which often leads to a more focused role in the industry. And I have one student of mine who is learning legal studies at OP Jindal and now wants to move into the field of psychology because she realized that this was a wrong decision of hers and psychology was her true interest. In order to be apt for a master's degree, I had to ensure that she does a kind of a bridge program or does the credit courses which is required for her to show her knowledge, which is acceptable along with research projects, which makes her apt for a master's degree. This is where students are making their transitions or going into specializations or more in-depth learning of a particular area. I would suggest a master's degree. On the other hand, when I think about an MBA, I feel that an MBA is designed for professionals who have at least a few years of work experience and who are now ready to maybe make those relevant changes or directions or lead or scale managerial and strategic roles. So it's broader in scope. It combines leadership development with business fundamentals across all areas such as marketing, operations, finance, supply chain, project management, and many, many more. Yes, for me, an MBA is like putting an icing on the cake which is already baked. It's a perfect time for networking and moving from a middle level management position to a senior level management position. So, in our counseling sessions, I encourage my students to ask some very important, relevant questions, such as where am I now in my career? What kind of roles do I see myself 5 to 10 years down the line? And what is the kind of learning environment which will best support that growth? So, this decision is actually just not academic, but it is very, very personal. There are a lot of parents here in India who feel that let them do an MBA because let this be the last leg of the education and then enter the work. But they don't realize that MBA cohort comprises of professionals who are coming from diverse backgrounds, who are just not learning but also contributing to the diverse cohort of the MBA student body. So MBA learning is far more enhanced and superior, while a master's is much more. And that is why we focus on helping students align their education choices with their vision for the future.
Now, there's always a question of how do you convert a student's academic requirements or academic choices with future job markets and still stay true to their core interests? So, how do you think one can bridge the gap between the two?
I wrote a blog which said that there's no STEM without STEAM when the entire country was going towards only science, technology, engineering, math. First of all, I personally believe that because there is a job market for that particular course, that's why that course exists. Seriously. At the end of the day, it is very, very important to understand what the student is truly passionate about. I mean, yes, you have to move yourself, you have to push yourself, you have to experiment, and you have to understand that you need to upskill yourself to be in that job market. But at the same time, it is very important for them to be in that space which motivates them. There could be a job market, but there could be no motivation. Our approach is very deeply rooted in helping students make those informed and intentional choices. Let's be honest, AI is an integral part of our lives. I may hate computers, I may hate coding, but there's certain basic knowledge of technology that I need to imbibe because that's where the world is moving. So sometimes I have students coming up and telling me that, I don't want to have anything to do with computers. I want to do history or blah, blah, blah. And I tell them that's great. But now everything is data driven. Every discipline is based on data mining to make informed decisions because that's the way the world is moving. So I give them a little bit of an exposure, especially in data analytics, Excel, a little bit of computers, because if I'm studying history and working in a museum, I need to understand how to use data. You can't run away from technology. So at the same time, I ensure that whatever they're doing is also linked with technology so that they can use technology to better themselves in the field of their interest. And the only way we can prepare them for tomorrow is making them understand that these are the areas which will be in demand. And for you to prepare yourself, whichever area you want to go in, we must link it with technology.
And certainly, there's an ever changing landscape. There is opportunity and transformation, but there is also uncertainty, which is hard to ignore. What would your final words of hope or advice be to students and parents navigating this increasingly complex landscape? Because a lot of people can be lost.
So, in my opinion, yes, we are living in a world which is full of turmoil. And we, being international students, we need to be careful about where we are going. And most importantly, how are we conducting ourselves outside? We have to be careful about how we voice our opinions and how we conduct ourselves, as I said. I always advise my students, especially those who are going for their undergraduate, that if you get admission into a top university in India, why don't we look at the Indian education system? I think it has really evolved, and some of the universities are so great, and they're giving the same kind of education which maybe I would say a top liberal art or university could be doing overseas. For instance, I visited Flames University. I've been, of course, visiting Ashoka and all the other universities, a part of my job. But when I visited Flames, I was actually very impressed by the co-curriculum, the flexibility of learning, which is what we are looking at in a country like the United States, as well as the resources and the opportunities that the university is providing. And I felt like, why would you want to leave all this, and go overseas, at least in the undergraduate level? Maybe you want to go overseas to learn something which you feel you're not able to learn here, or get that kind of relevant exposure or advanced research. At the undergraduate level, if you are getting all that kind of a learning in India, I always would say this is the place where we are secure. We are with a family. So let's look at the opportunities in India, watch what is happening globally, and then make the right informed choices when you have to make your final decision. But at the same time, I also realize that look at those job markets and look at those universities, if you're going to be going and spending money there, which is valued in your home country. So we have all different types of students. Based on what their long term goals and visions are, I advise them accordingly. But right now, whatever I do, however I'm working with my students, wherever they want to go, I make sure that they apply to the Indian university as well as applying overseas. That is the door which I always like to keep open. I suppose I'm a student who is going for masters, and they really want to go overseas to study, get that kind of exposure learning. And with what is happening worldwide, I would say, why don't you take this opportunity to get some kind of a work experience? Because there is no magic wand which is going to come up with the right answers for what you want to do unless you experiment it on your own. So it's not about me telling you what to do or your parents telling you what to do in the postgraduate level, but it's you finding out for yourself. So I would say that use this time to get yourself a job, have some professional work experience. When I'm looking for the right kind of people to join my organization, it's really hard to get the right talent. It's not that the jobs are not there. I feel there are many jobs out there. You just have to be a bit more flexible. And I even tell them, look at this year where you are getting that experience with just a stipend. It doesn't matter, because you're getting that important, relevant knowledge, which will help you to make that decision as to what you really want to specialize in or what you really want to study. And this is from my own personal experience. They come saying they want to do something in marketing, and then they move into finance, from finance to analytics, from analytics to projects, supply chain, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that happens because of their experiences that they gain through work. And I would tell the parents also that I understand that we're coming from a generation where education is a continuous process. But it is not so anymore, because now there's so many areas of specialization. It is really hard for the students to identify what they're truly passionate about. Spending that kind of money and going and doing a master's and then coming back and saying this is not really what I want to do in my life is just not a loss of time and money, but it's a loss of confidence too. So why don't we just tell them to prepare yourself for the university or college experience, especially when you're thinking about going overseas? And I tell the parents that gone are the days when you say, okay, continuously study, do your master's, do your MBA, then join the workforce. I would say, take a break, join the workforce, identify your interests, be absolutely sure about knowing what you want to do, and then take that leap and then spearhead your career.
Thank you so much, Niharika, for that message of hope and clarity. It was such a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandhya. Those questions were really engaging and very thoughtful, and I hope that whoever is listening out there really benefits from this podcast. Thank you so much.
Now, if there's one takeaway from today, it's that grades may open doors, but it's passion, purpose, and personal growth that truly shape a student's journey. Thank you for tuning in to the edX Live podcast today. Don't forget to share and join us as we continue exploring stories that shape education and beyond, only on edxlive.com. Until then, stay curious and keep learning.